Hey guys, thank you all so much for 10,000 subscribers. Thank you all for 11,000 subscribers. I can barely keep up. You guys are just that awesome. Hello horse racing fans and welcome back to another video. Today's video is, as the title suggests, another Q&A special, which I decided to put out in anticipation for 10,000 subscribers, not realizing just how quickly we'd go over that. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much. It really means the world to me. I've been making these videos for 6 years now, so to have this kind of success in the span of a month that I've never seen before is truly spectacular. I know everyone else says it, but it really is amazing, and I really hope you guys stick around, because there's a lot of exciting horse racing content that I want to do in the future. For now, though, let me answer some of your queries. The first questions came from the first Q&A I did about 2 years ago. Let's start with the old and then get to the new. These questions come from Vernon France. Why aren't they running the Breeders' Cup Marathon anymore? The simple answer to that is that there just aren't enough good long-distance dirt horses to make it a worthy Breeders' Cup. I wish there was, and I wish there was more breeding towards long-distance horses, but for now, we don't really have enough good stayers in America. Do you think there will ever be a successful white thoroughbred in America? That's an interesting question. Personally, I don't think so, because we've had white horses for over 50 years, so has Japan, but Japan has managed to mix those white horses with really successful bloodlines like Sodashi. After Sodashi, that was the hard part, just getting one good one. Now, it's so much easier because now we have proven successful bloodlines and we can just keep it going. In America, we've yet to get that first spark. Most of the time when we breed for color, it doesn't work out. Like, I knew a horse in Indiana who was cinnamon colored, and let's just say that he was the meanest horse out there and he never made a single start. Pretty as heck though. So yeah, most horses that are bred for exotic colors, they're more colorful than they are talented. That's why Sodashi is so special. And lastly from Vernon, what are some of the greatest rivalries in horse racing? Well, let's get the obvious one out of the way. Affirmed and Aladar is the greatest rivalry in horse racing history. Having two horses at the top of their game compete in all three jewels of the Triple Crown and in 10 overall races, you can't beat that. Especially when they finish 1-2 so often. There will never be a better rivalry than that. Right behind that, one of the most underrated rivalries in my opinion was Precisionist versus the European horse Grayton. They ran 8 times against each other, and both beat each other 4 times. They were really evenly matched, but no one seems to bring them up. I think that I might even just make a video about that down the road, because that's a really good rivalry that just never gets mentioned. Assault and Stymie is a pretty underrated rivalry, 2 of the best Texas horses ever, both from humble beginnings, and both also in a breakneck pace battle for the richest horse in the world in 1947. That's a story that doesn't get talked about enough. Dr. Fager and Damascus, classic, although Dr. Fager was definitely better. Ali Sheba bet twice, love that rivalry. Sunday Silence and Easy Goer, and hot take, Sunday Silence was better. I don't care, like, all the excuses that Easy Goer had. He had 3 chances to beat him, and the only time he did was on his home turf. Especially, like, the Breeders' Cup Classic. You know, he had all that opportunity to get on even terms with Sunday Silence, and yet Sunday Silence was still able to open up and hold him off. Sunday Silence was simply one step ahead of Easy Goer at most times. That is how he beat him. Next question comes from DJ Kent. Do you think that the Triple Crown should be changed, such as the time between races or a venue change? Short answer is, I'm a purist. I believe that the Triple Crown should stay the way it is, but I also do think that it can work if it changes. Now, for the history side of things, I do want it to stay consistent, but at the same time, the Triple Crown has gone through changes before. There used to be 4 weeks between the Preakness and the Belmont Stakes, and people were never critical of the gap between races back then. Sir Barton won the Triple Crown when the Belmont Stakes was 1 3/8 miles, and no one disputes that he was the first to do it. The distances do not change. I will staunchly believe that those have to stay the same. The timing between races, I could see a changed schedule working, and still it being a worthy challenge, but in a perfect world, it wouldn't need to change. Great horses have skipped the Triple Crown before. Sovereignty is not the first. Spend a Buck did it, he could have won it. Swaps did it in the 50s and he could have done it. But I think that there still is a horse and a trainer who wants to win it bad enough. It just wasn't this year. Gibson asks, would you do another live stream? I would love to chit-chat about horse racing in general. And the short answer is, yes, I do hope to do more live stream content, especially that Road to 10,000 subscribers video. That was really fun. You guys really showed up, and I had so much fun talking horse racing with all of you. In general, I am trying to foster more of a horse racing community, not just in that live stream, but also in my Discord server. The Discord server is a bit small, but we have a lot of fun discussing horse racing on a regular basis there. So the link to that Discord is in the description below. But also, yes, I do want to do more live stream content. The reception on the last one was really good. I don't know when, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I do want to at least semi-regularly live stream to you guys. This next comment comes from Richard Rayleigh2550. How do you usually watch races? I'd be interested in watching a video aimed for people new to the sport about all the different places to watch and some basic info on different styles/lengths. Very good question. This is definitely something that I'm tempted to make just a full solo video on, but for now, I'll tell you about all the ways that I keep up with horse racing right now. For websites, Equibase is the all-encompassing North American racing database. If you have a horse you want to learn about, who are the best horses in training, etc., it's all there. It is the stat website to use. And if you make an account on Equibase, you can have something called a virtual stable, which means that you get emails notifying you when your favorite horses are running. For other websites, Pollock Report, Blood Horse, Daily Racing Form, Horse Racing Nation, those are all news sites to follow the newest news in horse racing. As for actually watching the sport of horse racing, the most effective places to go are FanDuel Racing, which you can get either on the app, tvg.com, and making an account on either of those, or just watching FanDuel TV on YouTube TV or channel 602. That is the most all-encompassing, every major live race, back-to-back-to-back with on-air analysts. That's one way. For YouTube, only certain American racetracks do YouTube live streams, but the biggest is the New York Racing Association, which has some of the biggest races in America, like Saratoga. Like, all of Saratoga Racecourse gets broadcast there, although some of their big races get broadcast on Fox Sports 1 or 2, so keep that in mind also. For watching the big races, like the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness and the Breeders' Cup, they're usually broadcast on NBC Sports. I know some horse racing also gets live streamed on Peacock, just to name a few. So those are how you follow those big races. Twin Spires is another good website. It's a little hard to navigate. It's a betting website also, but you can also use it as a replay database to get free replays. If you know a horse ran on a certain day at a certain racetrack, you can find it there. That's usually how I get a lot of modern replays, at least, but it's not very beginner-friendly. I'll say that. Those are usually the main tools I use to follow racing in America. For international racing, World Horse Racing, their social media accounts, they cover stories about all worldwide racehorses, so you can do that. And also FanDuel TV does do international broadcasts of races in English, so that's also a great place to go. If you have any other questions about how to watch horse racing, anyone, please let me know. I want to make this as easy as possible for people to get into my sport. Whoops. Yak the Kuzo 1401 asks, always been curious on horse race power scaling. Go to JP horses like Deep Impact and Opera O compared to international goats like Secretariat, especially since Uma Musume doesn't really give that much attention to a lot of horses unrelated to Japan. Power scaling is very difficult, and it's something that I'm not going to pretend like I know perfectly, even though I'm the only guy who does it on a consistent basis on the internet. For the ways that I try to power scale horses that are from different countries, I have to overcome a lot of factors because, let's take Deep Impact and Secretariat for example, there's a lot of differences in what they had to deal with. Secretariat ran on flat, dirt courses for the most part, except for 2 races on grass. Meanwhile, Deep Impact mostly participated on undulating, bigger Japanese turf courses, and also sometimes ran the opposite way. Some of Japanese races are clockwise versus counterclockwise, while every American race is counterclockwise, without fail. The best way I try to power scale horses is to find 2 horses that have enough common ground that there is a worthy discussion to be had. Horses who accomplish similar things in their countries or from the same country, face similar opponents, or even just ran similarly. There's a lot of ways that a horse who maybe isn't as good or accomplished as another horse can still be the perfect foil for another horse. So, like, if there's a great come-from-behind horse, he may have won more races, but if you take a less accomplished frontrunner who can purposely set up a slow pace, they can have that race all to themselves. They control the race, and the closer has to play by their rules, and they will lose, even if the frontrunner is less accomplished. Examples like that. It's not always about who the most accomplished is, but that can be one way to differentiate two horses and see who you think is better. But it also comes down to running style, opponents, and how they overcome certain challenges. That is the best way I try to power scale horse racing for my versus videos. The next question comes from Meisfer1088. I'd like to understand more about races. Seems from Umamusume from lowest to highest, it's in this order. So I'm better at American racing than I am Japanese racing, but I can piece this together and hopefully answer some of your questions. A debut race isn't an official condition per se for racing, in America at least, maybe in Japan it is. For maiden races, it's a catch-all term. It's a race just for any horse who has never won a race ever. Like horses who haven't won a race who are 3 years old, or 3 or 4 years old. You could have never won once, or you could be Haru Urara and still be trying to win and break your maiden. In American racing, they add other conditions too, like claiming races, which means that it's for horses who have never won before, and also you can buy them for a specific price, but that's not a thing in Japan. OP races, I don't know necessarily what those are, but if they're anything like America, we have what's called allowance races, which are races that aren't big enough to be stakes races and have names, but are better than maiden races, and usually get a bunch of varying conditions along those lines. They're kind of the middle-of-the-road races that you use to step yourself up to stakes races. Graded stakes races, you've got it covered. The lowest graded stakes race is a grade 3, and then you move all the way up to a grade 1, which is the biggest race of them all. Now for the last part, which I'm curious of, is the URA Finale a real race? The short answer is that there is no exact equivalent to the URA, it's a fictional creation made for the game, but there are things like it in racing. In America, we have what's called the Breeders' Cup, which currently has 14 different races meant to represent 14 different categories, and like the URA, its goal is to bring the best horses in each category all together into a big finale. So there's a final race, a Breeders' Cup race, for 2-year-old fillies, 2-year-old colts, and then for sprinters, for milers, for classic distance horses, you get the picture. There's also something similar in Britain where they have a British Champions Day, which comprises 4 finale championship races, all meant to represent different categories: fillies, milers, sprinters, etc. Same kind of goal. Now, they don't have an exact series like the URA, but they have sometimes equivalents to it. The Breeders' Cup has races over the course of the year that give you a win and you're in. So if you win, say, one of these win and you're in races, all your fees are paid to participate in the Breeders' Cup. And then for Britain, they have their own series for each category, but the URA doesn't have an exact equivalent. That's the best I got for you. Hope that helps. Hanyala Kodir asks, do you plan on making a tutorial on how to be a horse race commentator? If enough people want me to, I can, but for now, how about I just give you guys sort of a Cliff Notes version on what goes into preparation for calling a horse race. So usually during a horse race, we're given one of these. Here, right here, you see the horses, they have their names, the owners, their numbers, etc., etc. There, you can make as many or as little annotations as you want. Me, usually right about here, I will draw a rectangle, and that'll represent the jockey's silks, color that in, and then try to memorize it. Try to associate each horse's silks with the horse itself, so that I can recall the horse just by the silks alone. So that when I'm calling a race, and I'm peeping through my binoculars as the horses move around, I can recall it just like that. No memory, no race caller. The hope is that you can memorize those horses by those silk colors and not even have to look down at your sheet. You can, but it's like a crutch. It's a cheat sheet for a reason. The most effective way to keep your flow going and just have an effective, smooth race call is to have it as well memorized as possible. The most difficult part, though, is that after you do that, after you spend 20 minutes memorizing those horses, and then the race happens, you have to immediately forget it. Forget everything. And then do it again for the next race. And then the next one, and then the next one. You do that 8 to 10 times in a day, 3 to 4 times a week, and you got yourself a full-time job being a race caller. Dennis Trusty suggests, you know what could be fun? A video of you hanging upside down for 5 minutes and then calling a horse race. No, I'm not your circus monkey, okay? Okay. Oh dear. I sound like an old man. Jesus Christ. Alright. Ow. Let's see what we got here. We got Classic Max, Molly's Town, CJ Storm, Latigo, Classic Eddie, CJ Storm. Oh, it's Classic Max. Hang on a minute. Need to get my cheat sheet here. Neutron, Tiz Eddie, Latigo, CJ Storm, Classic Max, CJ's Town. No, Molly's Town, CJ Storm. Molly's Town, CJ Storm. Oh, there goes my microphone. CJ Storm, Latigo, Tiz Eddie, Neutron. Ah, crap. It's muted. Alright. And we're off in the upside down horse race. Neutron was quite alert. Then to the inside of them, it is Tiz Eddie. Moving up the inside, there goes Classic Max, who's in front by half a length. Then to their outside of them, it's Tiz Eddie. Neutron drops back to third. Then to the inside of them, it is Molly's Town, along with Latigo, who's only half a length behind, with CJ Storm to complete the lineup as we go down the backstretch. Just in front now, it is the number 1, Classic Max, just ahead of the number 5 horse, Tiz Eddie. Molly's Town on the inside in the red and green is just ahead of Latigo and Tiz Eddie towards the end of the pack. It is CJ Storm. The opening quarter was in 21.98 seconds as we're rounding the turn here. Wow, this looks so weird. In front, it is Tiz Eddie who's cutting the corner, and there in front it's Tiz Eddie. But then to the inside, moving up, there goes Classic Max, and here goes Molly's Town, along with then it's number 3 CJ Storm, but it's Tiz Eddie in front, but here it comes between horses. CJ Storm, who's trying to put this race upside down, but Tiz Eddie's fighting on, and Tiz Eddie is gonna win by, I think that was a length. And then in second place was CJ Storm, and then Molly's Town. My eyes. Wow, that was so weird. Next question comes from Discord from Sayoshi, who asks, do you remember the name of the Japanese racehorse that threw his head in the air and did a roar? This one took a little while for me to figure out, but it was Jungle Pocket, who is also the star of Uma Musume, Beginning of a New Era, which is something that I have yet to see. I've seen Road to the Top, but I have yet to see Beginning of a New Era. But if Beginning of a New Era is anywhere near as good as Road to the Top, then I think I'm in for a treat. Rivazen asks, what's your favorite racehorse of all time? Seabiscuit, without a doubt. Seabiscuit is my favorite movie, favorite horse. It's a pretty fun combination. CRDC asks, what does the future hold for you in the racing industry? Are you looking to become a full-time track announcer? That is one thing I'm hoping to do, but as I continue working through the racing industry, I do see other opportunities in my path. I do want to also do writing for horse racing, content creation, stuff like that as well, just in general media and marketing, and just moving racing into the next generation to get people to fall in love with the sport that I love most. Because for a long time, being a young guy in racing means that you are a minority. So I want to make that not the case anymore. And that's why I'm really excited about all these new fans, especially thanks to Uma Musume. It's a gateway for people, especially young people, to get into this sport. And I think this is a really great opportunity. So stuff like that, mixed with being a race caller, is my current dream, but also I know that my dreams and priorities will change as I get older. Sunday Silence asks, who would you consider the strongest racehorse of all time? That's a very broad question with a lot of answers. At shorter distances in America, Dr. Fager is, in my opinion, the strongest and fastest. In terms of strength, like durability, I think horses like Panzeretta and Tibbity Witchet in mainland America, they ran the most, they won the most. That's pure strength, in my opinion. Forgo was also very strong, although he was unsound, but I think that kind of goes into why he was so strong. Despite his body not being the strongest physically, his heart was so great that he could win races carrying incredible weights, as high as like 137 pounds. You know, stuff like that. He was a real hero. I love Forgo. Also Kelso, just for the strength to be at the top of your game for 5 consecutive seasons and still be the best horse every single time, that takes strength and longevity. Brendan asks, what's the best horse you've ever called? Now, the most famous horse I've ever called is obviously Skibidi Rizz, but he's far from the most talented. The most talented horse I ever called has 2 answers depending on what breed we're talking. For the quarter horses, the dragsters of horse racing, You Can Run is the only Grade 1 winner I've ever called. He won the Grade 1 Go Man Go handicap back in 2021, and I got to call him in 2025 at Turf Paradise.
On the inside, Woman in Gold, they're coming out of the finish. You Can Run pokes their head and wins by half a length. To their outside, Rockin' Joe Cool, along with Just My Dynasty and Woman in Gold. But You Can Run takes the All Red Brothers Stakes.
For thoroughbreds, it's easily Kiddodan. Kiddodan was the 2022 Claiming Horse of the Year. He was claimed by someone for $80,000 in a claiming race. That was the price tag in the race itself. And then later that year, he won 3 stakes races. The Rushaway Stakes, the Audubon Stakes, and then the G3 $750,000 Dueling Grounds Derby. All in a single year. A few years later, he ended up at Horseshoe Indianapolis, where I got to call him. It had been a while since he had reached those heights, but he's slowly running back into form. I got to call him winning his 3rd consecutive race, and it was a pretty dramatic one.
With Kiddodan, Mugi Sun is holding steady. Gewürztraminer and Kiddodan are flying late on the far outside. Mugi Sun needs the wire, but Kiddodan nails them at the finish line.
In total, he's earned about $900,000, and he has all those previous accolades. I've yet to call another thoroughbred quite like that. Orca M asks, who do you think is going to win the Breeders' Cup this year? I want Forever Young to get revenge, but Sovereignty seems pretty unbeatable right now. I'd say it's a bit early for me to make a final call on who's going to win the Breeders' Cup, but in terms of talent, I think Sovereignty's the most talented horse in the race. He's very dangerous, but he could lose. Forever Young, I'm not sure he fully likes the Del Mar surface, so we'll see if he can improve off that 3rd place finish from last year's Breeders' Cup. Sierra Leone, I think, has a real chance to do something here. He needs a pace to close into. Now that they know how to do it, they'll enter a rabbit into the Breeders' Cup and have it be the pace that he likes. If they make that pace super fast, like last year's Breeders' Cup, he could win it all over again. He might not always win, but he's always right there. He's never finished worse than 4th his entire career, after all. I think Sierra Leone is the most dangerous 4-year-old to win the Breeders' Cup. Fierceness and White Abarrio have not been consistent enough, in my opinion, to be reliable at this point. But I really feel like the 3-year-olds are going to shake this up. Journalism's going to do pretty well, but if Sovereignty's also running, then it's going to be a battle for 2nd place. So Sovereignty for the 3-year-olds and Sierra Leone for the older horses. Those are the 2 horses that I think have the best chance of winning the Classic. Orca M also asks, favorite filly ever? Beholder. Definitely Beholder. She was around through most of my childhood. When I was 8 years old, she won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. I thought she was awesome then. And then just year after year, I just kept seeing her win race after race and just stay on top. She was just always there, and she was so reliable. And that's one of the things I really love in a racehorse, is one that I can just watch for a couple years and just know that they're always going to get a win somewhere. And she also kept surprising me. I didn't think she would win the Pacific Classic against the boys, but she destroyed them. Very pleasant surprise. And then the way she went out as a winner against Songbird was pure cinema. One of the most perfect stretch duels that I've ever seen in the history of racing. Beholder. In 2nd place, Vodka. Definitely my favorite Japanese filly. I mean, what she pulled off in the Japanese Derby, truly unforgettable. And she was all class too. Her battles with Dewa Scarlet, we all know about that. But also the amount of guts she displayed in her other races, like the Japan Cup. Real classy filly. Dennis Trusty gives me a unique race calling question. You're called to do a race, and you have to go get lunch at a fast food restaurant. Where do you go? It depends on where in the country we are talking here. In the Midwest, if I needed to get some lunch before calling a horse race, I would get it at White Castle. Get myself some sliders. For some general fast food places, Jersey Mike's is my go-to sandwich shop. So if there's a Jersey Mike's around, then I'll just go for that. That doesn't even really matter geographically. I love me some Jersey Mike's or Jimmy John's. Jimmy John's is also pretty good. Subway, not as good, but still alright. Love Carl's Jr.'s and Hardee's, depending on where in the states I am. Those 2 are good defaults. If we're going towards the west, In-N-Out is a good go-to fast food place for me. If I'm calling in California or if I'm calling in Arizona. And if Rito ever opens again in Tucson, Arizona, then I'm getting EG's. Skylar T asks, what was the most heartwarming race you ever watched and why? This is a pretty easy answer. What, you wanted me to say the Takarazuka Kinnin? Cody's Wish in the 2023 Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. It was the first time I ever attended a Breeders' Cup. I had been following the horse since he had won the Forgo Stakes. I had screamed to the moon and back when he had won the first Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, and every time he won a race in 2023, my hopes just got higher and higher. Because 2023 was kind of a rough year for horse racing, so having him as this kind of glimmer of hope was amazing and exactly what I needed to see. So to see his final race, and have it be as perfectly dramatic as it was, for him to be fighting down National Treasure, and win by a nose, and have him win it in front of Cody, before unfortunately he left us. It was bittersweet, but it was also heartwarming, and the fact that I got to say, I saw that with my own two eyes, I'll cherish forever. Zeke0 asks, hope this comment doesn't annoy you. It doesn't. But is there any way to keep track of Skibidi Rizz's races? On Equibase is the best place to go. There you can see every race he's ever ran, and if you make an Equibase account, like I said earlier, you can add him to a virtual stable, which will notify you every time he's entered or work out. And to round this out, Brendan has one last question for us. When you research some of the early 1900s, late 1800s horses, what are the best places to look for trustworthy information? Now, part of it is that because I'm a college student, I get a free subscription to the New York Times, so I use them quite a bit. I also use the Library of Congress website. It's a public website, and I usually just look up the name of the horse and then the word horse. And they have this huge database of newspapers, and usually I luck out. That was how I researched the Kentucky Derby Iceberg, especially the older winners of the Kentucky Derby. I was able to look through the Library of Congress and find a lot of good newspapers. That's the way I research, and I recommend that anyone else who wants to learn about old horse racing gives it a shot. Just put in a horse's name with the word horse and just snoop around, and you'll find something you may not have expected. So that concludes today's Q&A special. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll reply to them as soon as I can. For the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much for 10,000, 11,000, and any other milestones we reach in the future. You guys are amazing. You give me the opportunity to share horse racing to the masses, something I've wanted to do since I was 6 years old. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much. And I hope you guys stay tuned, because I'm going to be continuing to make high-quality horse racing content from here on out. I think the next video I'm going to be making will be Fuji Kiseki versus Agnes Tachyon. And also in the near future, I do want to do Sunday Silence versus Ali Shiba. So stay tuned for those videos. Other videos in other categories, like reviewing the rest of the Uma Musume series, I also have on my top priority list. And also just general horse racing stories, both short and long. Hope that sounds exciting to you guys as it is for me. See you guys next time.